Hi, this is Robert Yeager, the developer of the WeWired Web. This video is intended for technical people who want to add or modify services to the system. The WeWired Web is a mashup system where non-technical people can hook up web services to perform tasks. An example of a task might be to call my phone at 9 p.m. if tomorrow's weather forecast calls for snow or severe weather. The WeWired Web is itself powered by a mashup system that is community extensible. Technical people can extend the system to add and modify services, triggers, and actions. Services, triggers, and actions in the system are all created with the assembly editor. When a service is activated, an assembly is being executed to perform the functionality needed to register a user's account with that service. Note that when I activate the Boxcar service, it prompts me for an email address. Let's see where that prompt comes from. Click the gears you see beside items to edit them. Here is the assembly editor. What you see are software parts connected together. Each part performs specific functionality. Just so you know, each part in the system is built within the part IDE. Here you can see the UI builder for this part. And here is this part's implementation code. An assembly diagram represents a runnable program where data is passed from part to part. Remember the Boxcar prompt to enter the email address? Here is that prompt. I can double-click on a part's title bar to execute the assembly up to that part, or click on the execute link at the top right to run the entire assembly. Here you can see that prompt again. Refer to the Assembly Editor help video for information on how to operate the editor. So, the goal of a service assembly is to gather and save a user's needed credentials for a service. All service assemblies follow the pattern of gathering any needed credentials and storing them into the system. Each user can have multiple accounts per service by using a text entry assembly argument part named service account. The end user enters an account name from the service details page when more than one account is created. Account management is done here in this area. The easiest services to integrate into the system are those that don't require user credentials. This is the Craigslist service. Since Craigslist has no API, the Craigslist trigger in the system just scrapes a web page to load data from our Craigslist search query. Because the Craigslist trigger assembly has no need for user accounts, the service just stores values of unused into the system. A service can be nearly any source of data. Here is the earthquake service assembly. Like Craigslist, there is no need for user credentials because the earthquake trigger is loading its data from an RSS feed. It also just stores values of unused into the system. Most of the consumer APIs like Twitter will use OAuth to authenticate users. Using OAuth, users will authenticate to the target service and authorize the system to access their account. The easiest type of OAuth integration is to use the canned OAuth authentication part, which already provides integration to a number of services. All you have to do is to select the service and enter your OAuth API keys that are provided to you when you sign up for a developer account at the service's website. Secret parts are used to store your API keys. If you make your service assembly publicly available to other users in the system, when they open the assembly, your API keys will not appear. Some services, like Google, require a scope value that specifies which specific service you want to access, like YouTube. Click the question mark buttons to learn more about part fields. To connect to OAuth services not in the canned part, you can use the generic OAuth authentication part. This part lets you connect to both OAuth 1.0 and OAuth 2.0 services. When you first see the part, the number of options will be overwhelming. They are needed because OAuth has a lot of variations. This video will not attempt to teach you OAuth. Usually, each service will provide documentation on OAuth authentication at their website where you sign up for your developer API keys. Here is the page Foursquare provides to document their OAuth authentication. Within the generic OAuth part is a field called Validation URL. This is not part of OAuth, but rather is used to verify that the part is integrated with the OAuth service correctly. You should enter a URL to a very basic API call to the target service, typically one that returns the user's account information. Here you can see that for Scoopit is retrieving the user's followed topics. Your goal when configuring the OAuth part is to configure the parameters as needed to authenticate to the remote service such that the validation steps return the expected information. If you are new to OAuth, expect a learning curve to get your first service working. If you get stuck, go to the help page and then to the help forum. Here you can find information and post questions as needed. This concludes this video segment.